Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters in Taipei for our final round of the Season 9 Championships. In 6 weeks' time, of course, we'll be heading off to Poland and Katowice to the Spodek Arena for another World Championship final. And the last two spots are up and running now from Taipei. These players in StarCraft 2 are aiming for the top 2 spots at the very least, but they're also looking for 750 points in the WCS rankings as well. Never too early to talk about WCS rankings. Apollo's back with us on the desk, and it's good for life so far. Great victory for him. Very easy in terms of the way he's gone through the group, but maybe not as easy as he might have thought in each individual map.
Yeah, when anyone who hadn't have seen the games looks at the results, you just say, okay, yeah, 2-0, 2-0. Yeah. But there were some close games for sure. The 4GG second game was close, and both of the games, in my opinion, Soulkey were very 50-50.
Yeah, could have gone either way. So we move on to the next game, which is our final game of the round. Let's just show you the bracket and show you how it's panned out, because there have been a couple of odd results in this one, I would say. San coming up 2-0 winner against 4GG. Now, I say surprising, but only because San's had about an hour's sleep overnight, is not feeling very good, and normally doesn't play well against Terrans. So that's an unusual result, to say the least. So 2-0 for San, and obviously with Soulkey losing in the upper bracket, that then leaves us with the last two players in the bottom half of San versus Soulkey. Now, interestingly, these two met recently in the round of 32 in GSL. Soulkey winning that one 2-1. Is it going to have much bearing on this game, considering it was, pretty recent?
Yes, it definitely will, but at the same time, everyone knows how San plays in this matchup. So yes and no, and I think they're going to approach this as a new best of 3.
Yeah. Does Soulkey learn anything, do you think, Maynard, from the way that Life played earlier, and maybe use the same kind of tactics against San?
I don't even think he needs to look at how Life deals with San. I think he just needs to study San, and I think that Soulkey's the player that, with enough information, he can make it happen. Absolutely. I mean, like Apollo said, San does the same consistent thing in PvZ. He's inspired many Protosses since, the early days of a couple of years ago with his 4-gate pressure into, whatever all inning falls up with.
We were talking about your Singaporean friend playing in a very similar way.
Yeah, shout out to Blisk. He loves San, does it every PvZ pretty much, and does apply a lot of that pressure, and it's very hard to stop if you do it well. And
absolutely.
Who does it better than the guy who invented it?
Yeah, of course. Susie, let's get the lowdown on San, because we haven't seen him yet.
No, we haven't.
We've not seen him in this bracket.
I've talked to him a little bit.
How's he doing with the sleep deprivation as well?
He's hurt his shoulder, and he said because of that, he hasn't really been able to practice all that much. Right. He's not feeling tip-top shape for this. I said, San, every time you're in a tournament like this, though, you don't make... You're always round of 8 or better. So what about this time around? He was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. Really? He's not very confident in himself. Also, he's been living in Korea, but he's on a European sleep schedule. Because he'll play all night and sleep all day. So he's just like, I come here, everyone's saying that the time difference is great for them, but man, I am struggling with this. So he's got an hour of sleep last night, not feeling so great. And I know, again, Soulkey definitely wants to make it out of group. So the favor is probably over to Soulkey.
Interesting win over 4GG. What does that tell you about that particular? I mean, we thought 4GG was in the form of his life coming into it. A great dream hack. He's played consistently well over the last month or so in practice. What's gone wrong today?
I mean, I wish I could have seen the games. I'm very confused by that result. I don't know what happened and what Sam was able to pull out of the bag, because, like Susie said, he's not in good shape right now. His strategies in his game's been figured out very much so over the last couple of months, and then including that shoulder injury that he brought up in Pro League just last week, I think it was, it's been affecting his games. He's not playing very well, and if you watch his games in Pro League, he was getting destroyed. So this is a very difficult setup for him. I wish I knew. I'm going to go find the replays and find out how he did 4GG, because I'm very surprised.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, so let's take a look at this particular matchup. Soulkey starts off as the massive favourite. Does it take a mistake by Soulkey to let San in, or does San have to play really well to beat Soulkey, or a mixture of the both?
In my opinion, it is pure mistakes from Soulkey. This should be an easy 2-0 for Soulkey, and if he messes up, if he over-drones, is greedy, doesn't have the right defense against, as we all know, a super aggressive San in this matchup, then he deserves to lose. But I'm sure he won't make those type of mistakes.
Do maps play a part in this? I mean, we've seen a few different strategies on some of the new maps.
Especially with the new maps, depending on what the vetoes are.
Does San get something out of that, though, Lee? Can he find something, one of the new maps, maybe?
It means that 2-base aggression is going to be pretty much guaranteed, and Soulkey knows this on those maps where the third is more difficult. So I think Soulkey's very prepared, and I'm feeling a 2-0 for him as well.
Okay. What about you, Susie?
I'm going to have to go 2-0 for Soulkey. Since he didn't beat Life Hopefully he'll beat San. You know, if Soulkey does win this, though, Life has predicted this group perfectly.
He absolutely has, yes.
And that was the first thing he said to me this morning was, oh yeah, I'll be first, Soulkey was second, San, 4GG last.
Yeah.
So he laid it out for us, and I think that's going to come true soon.
Maybe we'll get back on the desk later on and he can predict Group D for us as well.
Maybe
that's what we do. Thank you very much. Right, we'll head over to the commentary desk where Todd and Kalaris are awaiting your loving arms for our final game of Group C.
All right, the second spot in Group C now has to be decided between Soulkey and San. Soulkey has already beaten San throughout this group. Will he be able to do it again? As San used to be brilliant in this matchup, but as of late has been having a rough time.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know what happened exactly with him. I guess people kind of finally figured out how to counter, you know, that one style that he was using, which really consisted of one single main build. And he's been struggling a lot since, actually. Like, it kind of feels like he used to only win against Zerg, and now he only loses.
Yeah.
I caught a little bit of their previous series, and I guess I'll cover that here in a second after we introduce our players, James.
All right, well, let's get into things then. Game number 1 of this best of 3 to find out who is moving on to the round of 8. San had so many round of 8s throughout 2014, but now we'll see if he can do that again. Spawning up to the top right-hand corner, it's our blue Zerg. It is Soulkey, representing TCM.
Which means?
Team Cooler Master.
Used to, yeah, but now it's just
now
TCM.
it's just TCM. Yeah. And spawning down at the bottom right-hand corner, it's our red Protoss. It is San, representing Yo Flash Wolves.
San, he's been playing like he's not a confident guy at all in some of these games. I caught the second map of their previous series. When they played earlier, they actually played on Expedition Lost and then Overgrowth. But in this series, interestingly enough, it's going to be Deadwing first and then the same, Expedition Lost and Overgrowth. So they're at least going to be playing that one map different than before. But yeah, when they played on Overgrowth, it really looked like San was doing well at first. Like, he took a third base, he went into Blink, he went into +2, then he started attacking, pressuring. But he wasn't really like hitting that strong of timings, and then he delayed one of the main attacks that he went for a lot, and Soulkey ended up having just too much in general, and he Vipers in support for you know, a lot of Hydralisks and Roaches, and then in the end he just won a big fight in the middle of the map. Even though it looked like for a moment I thought that San was just gonna win, because they were even pretty equal on supply for the most part, like in you know, 150 supply both of them at some point. So in this situation usually it's really nice for the Protoss, especially being on the same basis. So I was a little bit surprised, you know, staying on Stalkers like this, you don't really do that unless you really lack confidence and you want to try and end the game, or you decide to go for a specific timing, which didn't really happen, I felt, in that game. San wasn't that decisive as he usually is.
That's one of the important things to note, is that despite San having a lot of success with very early aggression in 2014 against Zergs, he could still play it out. It wasn't quite as powerful as his aggression, but he was able to still play it out. So
but usually not to the very late game, though.
Not to the very late game. When it got to those points, we saw that at BlizzCon against Life on Nimbus, and didn't go well. But then again, most Protoss didn't have too easy a time on Nimbus against Protoss in the very late game.
No Protoss has any experience in the late game, because we either win or lose before, James.
Yeah, true.
it's true, though.
Yeah.
I'm joking, but for the most part, I guess, the all-ins, you know, it's really one of the strengths of Protoss, the force fields, trying to use that as much as possible, and it's been more and more figured out. Once upon a time, Zergs didn't even try to bait force fields. They just ran in there, got their force field, and then they lost right away. Now, there are so many ways you can play around, you know, a huge sentry count, and Zergs have just been doing well in general. I guess Life will disagree with me, but because he thinks Zerg is weak, but
maybe.
That's what we've seen.
I was very interested that Soulkey actually decided to scout cross spawns first. I think because his Overlord was heading down to that bottom right-hand corner anyway, with the Overlord to just be able to spot where he was all right and nice here for Soulkey, as he does now have a good idea of what's really going on the other side of the map. This probe is being a little bit sneaky on the right-hand side here for Sam, though.
And it's only 2 gateways so far, so no third one just yet. Starting to wonder whether he's going to do it at all or not. As I said, he's been struggling a lot more, San, with that build. He's not pulling it off really well anymore. Once upon a time, it just looked unbeatable. I remember it was the Intel Extreme Master Singapore, in which nobody could stop it. And as I said, here's the 4th gateway, so he's still gonna do some sort of pressure.
Yeah, there is a probe up to the top right, as we mentioned before, that was sneaking back and did find itself a little bit of comfort. He gets one link, and actually the second link is not going to be able to see the fourth gateway, so that's an important thing to note here.
Soulkey is busy, by the way. I think it's pretty good, but it feels like every once in a while he will have that one series where he clearly underperforms. Even if you look at his match history, it's like he beats big names all the time. He's very consistent. He wins a lot more than he loses, but every once in a while, he's just going to lose a series here and there. And it just feels like he's playing a lot worse all of a sudden than he usually would. And not really sure why. Maybe a bit of inconsistency.
Maybe. There was a link that was trying to scout out on the right-hand side, didn't spot that pylon going down, but did spot the fact that some of those units from the watchtower were moving up to the top right-hand corner, which has given him idea as to where that Zealot was going. So he may check up there anyway, because why would a Zealot be moving up there from this point?
San kind of gave it away here, but I do think that Soulkey kind of knows what might be headed for him here. Look at this. He's getting a spine crawler around his natural. He's going to stop +1 melee attacks, which is something he did earlier when he played against San. And yeah, seeing this here is it's going to be very important in helping to hold it. But the thing is, San in this game, he does not want to commit too much to being aggressive with it. He's made a lot of probes. He went for a forge. He's taking a gas already around his natural. So he might just go into, you know, a +2 and blink and third base scenario here.
Yeah, it might be a cool fake out because there's not, well, actually, I say there's not too many. He keeps warping in 2 Zealots at a time, so he's only up to 8. He could be at more. These sentries at the front, 3 sentries worth there, might tip him off to the fact that he doesn't have to make too many more links, but he's got 20 out on the field right now. He's going to have 10 more. Zealot's going to be able to engage just a small pocket of the links first, which actually divides them up quite nicely. The Queens weren't really able to do too much during that, as there's only 2 of them at the front, and prolonged Queen production has been something that's really helped out that kind of defense in the past, but here, didn't even need it.
San's pro production wasn't really halted here for any moment. He got a supply block here at some point, but other than that, he's been pretty consistent. Actually, he hits another one because he hadn't plans for that one pylon that was going to get sniped here. But he's been doing a pretty good job of probing up. He's at 45 against 46 drones, which is definitely nice at this point in the game. Should be able to pretty easily take... Oh,
nice.
Couldn't warp in anything, so he saves the situation with a nice pylon here. And I really think that this is going to be a third base, but he's still faking out aggression. He has another recall. He can definitely move in the middle of the map, try to pretend that he's going to all in, force Soulkey into possibly making more defense, more units. But look at this. Soulkey with 14 more drones already on the way.
Yeah, he's going to have a really strong economy very soon.
Oh, he's going to get a cancel?
Oh,
Soulkey calls the bluff
out of the way. Oh, wow. Very well done there by Soulkey to be able to catch that. So, yeah, you were totally right. Called the bluff. He saw in the main base the fact that there was a Twilight Council finishing up with his Overlord. And these links are being so annoying while San is all the way over the other side.
This might... Oh, my God. Okay, San, he's already tilting here, I think, a little bit. Look, he's adding more gates. He's like, you don't want me to... You don't want to let me get another Nexus? You don't want me to expand? Okay. I'll just add more gates and I'll all in you on 2 bases with blink and +2. It's your choice, really. You made units instead of making drones as well. I mean, it's still 61 drones to 47 probes, but if San is consistent with the Stalker production here, which is really all he has to do, and goes for a 2 base, it's going to be a very deadly one. And entering Locust is going to start.
Exactly. He needs to be able to hit before that really hits completion, as well as some come out onto the field. The Spine Crawlers are going to be able to buy some time, but this is an annoying spot to be able to deal with for the Zerg. Force Fields need to lay down, though. They don't quite come in just at the right time. A few of the Lynx did wrap around. In the end, it was a nice reaction, actually, to be able to shut those out. The Lynx can't get in. It's just a hard engagement position in general for Zergs to deal with right behind that third base.
I really don't think that San can hit before Swamos are going to be out. And then once they are out, I mean, he doesn't even have a Robo. How is he going to kill the Swamos? I mean, if he had a lot of, if he had a critical mass of Blink Stalker, so if this was another map and they say he can blink in the main, nice force fields, gonna get a few links, but I mean, he's just not going to be able to deal with the Locust and Swamos very well, I think, and I don't think he has the critical mass you would need to break this defense here out of Soulkey.
He's got to go, he's got to do something now. Zealot's going to hold on at the back here to be able to deny any kind of run by that does go on, but San needs to press forward. He needs to press the issue. 4 Swarm Hosts are already burrowed in this location. He sees the Locust now, and he's going to have to power through. There's not much more option he has available to him because Soulkey's economy is very, very strong.
I don't know. I think Soulkey doesn't realize that there was no observer. Otherwise, he would only be making Swarmos, but instead he's making a lot of links.
Blinker +2 going to have to do a lot here for these Stalkers as he does blink back. The force fields are holding this back for now, but this Spine Crawler in the mineral line with the transfuses and links flooding forwards just a little bit.
San is going to start running out of steam here, and actually, he doesn't have that many force fields left. The Mothership Core is taking some damage.
He's going to have to recall, I think. He blinks forwards to try and bring down that Spine Crawler, but as he blinks forwards, again, he has to keep using these force fields. He's losing a few of the sentries on the right, actually. Oh, what's that Stalker at the front? But regardless, he doesn't have many more force fields to be able to continue on that push.
He already realized that this was just not going to work against Swarm Host, and that he needed detection, so he threw down a Robo in the midst of all this. Started his level 1 ground armor and goes for the third base, so he's dealt as much damage as he could, and he's going to transition.
The Robo is in a very interesting location. He really, really wants detection over there very quickly.
You shall not expand.
Oh, and another denial on the third base. Soulkey on top of it time and time again, and it's not like it's not like he has vision there. He just knows when to go each time.
That's some sick game sense we're seeing. I was wondering what Soulkey was going to do with all this gas, by the way, because while he was defending here, he amassed so much gas. I really thought that maybe going for Infestors might be the right choice, considering San doesn't have any transition to Colossus planned and he's mostly Stalker heavy. But instead of that, he's going to go for a Spire. So I guess a decent count of Swarmos with 11 now. He's going to go up to 15 with the 4 more he's adding on, possibly into a Mutat transition here.
This is a brutal situation, though, for San. In the end, on 2 base all this time, and the Locust just keep pushing back the Gateway Force on the right-hand side, making it very difficult for San to really do much of anything. It's going to be up to the Warp Prism itself to do something, I guess, unless he's just going to keep it with the army for Warpins at the front, but he has loaded up a few Zealots.
Queen's in the main.
Find a triangle.
Queen's are in the main, ready to defend against the Warp Prism. Soulkey's game sense has been incredible so far this game. He knew that San was going to get up there.
Needs to force field, but even still, he needs to bring down all of these queens very, very quickly to be able to deal with it. The Swarm Hosts are actually moving across the map to get in an aggressive position whilst all of this is going on. The blink has to continue, though. Stalkers are going to have to do so much in the main, but Link's flooding forwards, holding time, and the Swarm Hosts, they're just going to absolutely lay waste to the entire base at the back.
Brilliant decision-making here by Soulkey. He knew there was not going to be a way for him to get up the ramp against the repeated force fields of San, so he goes across the map, and he's just going to eliminate San if he has to.
The Queens need to focus down the Warp Prism during all of that, limit any more reinforcements that would have come along, but it's not going to be the case. He did lose a lot of the Queens, but how are you supposed to deal with these Swarm Hosts? Actually, the Locusts weren't doing too much just there. There are still a lot of Stalkers here to be able to keep going, and he has room to be able to warp in more, but still, what is his answer to the eventual Swarm Host numbers?
I don't know. With the Robo being on the map, he could actually get a Warp Prism, try to play a base trade, evacuate with some probes, and try to eliminate his opponent, with the Swarmos being so far out of position as well. But there is a single observer, which is now back at home here for San. That means he cannot kill the Swarmos that are inside the base of Soulkey here defending.
Yep, he caught a few of them as they were popping out of the eggs very, very quickly there, but the ones that are on the ground, or underground, very difficult to deal with at this point, as he's going to lose his natural, he's losing all of his economy. He's actually saving the idea of these minerals, could have warped in a few more units, but is saving them currently to try and do something later on. It's because it's a very, very odd situation he finds himself in. Yeah, GG, not much more you're going to be able to do there against that many Swarm Hosts, and Soulkey is able to take game number 1.
With some insane game sense, actually. So many moves were great. The cancel on the third base both times that he went for it, and the blink in the main. He knew it was going to happen. He knew it was one of the only way that maybe San could try and come back and steal this game away from him, and he was prepared.
All right, well, that does it for game number 1, guys. Join us after the break when we'll have game number 2 of Soulkey and San. All right, welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters Taipei as we're getting into game number 2 between Soulkey and San. It's going to be on Expedition Lost, and as you mentioned before, great game sense by Soulkey. Really is able to read the flow of the game so well.
You know, this kind of move to me really goes to show the brilliance of a player like Soulkey. Not just the 2 base cancels, but being in a situation where he's held the initial Stalker attack and he says to himself, he's not going to break the front door. What's the next step for him? He's probably going to go for the main. He has Blink, he can get a War Prism probably, he can drop sentries on the ramp. I'm going to get ready for this. Gets all of these queens up his ramp, he's ready for any kind of War Prism harassment or Blink in the main. And in the end, even though it got breached and, you know, he lost a lot, he knew that with the Swarmos counter, it was definitely going to work out well for him. And so many players, I think, would have tried to, you know, burrow the Swarmos at their natural and try to go up the ramp.
And send them against the force field. Yeah. And
they would have lost if they. I really think that even if he had done that here, there is a good chance he would have lost because he wouldn't have been dealing any damage to San's base. He wouldn't have been halting his production, and the ramp would have forever after been force-fielded, James.
It would have. It would have. Anyway, we're ready for game number 2 here as we get into it. As Soulkey currently 1 up in this best of 3, looking to advance on to the round of 8. Expedition Lost is our map. So spawning up to the top right-hand corner, it's our blue Zerg. It is Soulkey, representing TCM. 1 game away from advancing. And down to the bottom left-hand corner, up against it, it is San.
Now we're going to see the rocks, the backdoor, be used here in this game.
Maybe.
We've seen players abusing it a lot, actually. And it really feels like, since this is one of the newer maps, a lot of players, they were not ready to deal with any kind of, you know, backdoor aggression, any kind of attack from behind headed for their main. They reacted too late, you know, to this being taken down. Which in this case, if you're San and you don't sort of, you know, wall it off or look out a lot for somebody attacking you through there, if Soulkey gets like a whole bunch of roaches and breaks this down and then enters the main of San, San's going to be in so much trouble. So he's going to have to keep that in mind. But knowing San, he's probably going to be the one bringing the aggression to Soulkey anyway, and with that pylon being where it is, and a probe being sent there now, it looks like he might want to try and cannon rush a Soulkey who surely should be looking out for it at minimum, especially, I mean, with the game sense and reactions that we've seen in the previous game. I really don't expect him to start falling asleep and letting this one work. And actually he goes for pull first.
Oh, okay. But yeah, it's actually a pretty good map to go for cannon rush on. There's a lot of ways to get across the map with that probe without the Overlord being able to spot it initially, unless you leave your second Overlord at the ramp at your natural. But he's already been spotted in the end and will now be fought against. But obviously San is going to know that it is not a hatchery first.
Really cool trick here. Hiding the drone, you know, behind the middle line a little bit here for Soulkey. Usually the good maps for cannon rushing are the ones where there is very little space behind the middle line of the natural, because you can wall in cannons very easily. So like King Sejong Station, you know, for example. But here, San's definitely going to be disappointed in seeing that there is no cannon rushing opportunity. He knows that he has to start a Nexus. Gonna follow this up with the gateway here. Not after going for a second pylon in the main, so I guess he's gonna delay his cannon a lot, but not enough for him to supposedly take any damage, especially since Soulkey only went for 2 links here.
One thing that I love in this matchup, especially, is whenever you see Zerg's even delayed responses to this is using queens a lot for defense in terms of prolonged production to the point where you get so many queens, and that's what we saw Soulkey do in the previous game. So even though he traded off a load of them, to go for the defense, look how much time he bought with all of those queens to make sure that nothing really died in the main base, which was really, really cool. I wouldn't mind seeing it again later on in this game, depending on what Sam wants to do.
Moral of the story, Kylar likes queens.
I like queens.
Actually, I totally agree with you. I think they did a great job that game. You know, not just the crit spread, the injects, but being there to defend, having the transfuses. And it's definitely something that we see sometimes from some Zergs specifically. I don't think it's one of the traits of Soulkey's play, and he uses it every time, but in that previous game, definitely it did wonders for him. Now on this map, I don't think it will be nearly as good, just because of the way, you know, the base are far apart and queens are very slow units.
Yeah, they are. You see a lot of immortal pushes from Protoss on this map, actually, just to try and exploit the fact that thirds and seconds are very far away. Likewise, it doesn't really help the Protoss too much establishing a third base. So maybe San could go for something like that here. We'll have to find that in just a bit.
There is some very force-fieldable ramps actually on this map, you know. ramps where you need either 2 or 3 force fields to completely lock them down. And I mean, San is that guy who loves to open, you know, with 4 gates pressure into Immortal Push, but now having kind of been forced into opening Forge Nexus, he's gonna open with a Stalker, the quick +1 behind this, and since the Link got in, he might delay his tech, so we're gonna see in a second what it is gonna be.
And he seemed quite avid about getting that Link. He was trying to zap away at it with the probe, so really wants to deny it, really wants to throw down his tech very soon. He's almost up to 100 gas.
Is he gonna be a Robo?
I think probably.
I don't think he's going to be a Twilight here. We really don't see that anymore, you know, rushing a quick Twilight, sometimes getting DTs, which is actually one of the things that can make it very strong. Well, that it won't be expected.
Pushing the Overlord away, over at his main base at least. So Robo's coming in a little bit later if he would go for something like that.
He's going to drop down some gateways here.
Yeah.
2 only. I thought it's always 3 here when you open Forge like this. You have the money for it anyway.
Go on, San, go on.
Come on, one more. Be a good boy.
Well, really trying to push these Overlords away, but they are being pesky. Roachhorn's going to get thrown down by Soulkey as well in response to really not seeing a whole lot. So wants to make sure he's going to be well and truly defended against anything that would come along his way, opening up his supply just a little bit in case he does need to pump out some of those Roaches.
He's still making probes here, so starting to think he's going to be a third base. And yeah, he sends a probe there. He's going to take it.
And that being spotted with... Could he put some pressure on here, Soulkey, to try and be annoying at that location?
He doesn't have link speed yet, so I don't think so.
7 Roaches on the way.
That was really nice, by the way, those few Zerglings. It's so funny, like San didn't dare starting a Nexus in front of them.
That's a lot of Roaches, Todd. Yeah. That's a lot of Roaches.
I don't think Soulkey realized that San is already on 3 gateways, but I mean, regardless, he could still do some damage. It's all going to be about the force fields. Like I said, the fact that the third base is so secluded, is so far away from the natural, and that there is a ramp and all that, it can make it very difficult for somebody to defend if he's attacked by overwhelming numbers. So in this case, that would be the Zerg early on with a lot of Roaches and Links, and later on, if a Protoss attacks with lots of sentries, it's going to be great for him. And look, I guess San is aware about the danger of that position and that back door here.
Oh, you have to be, because there's a lot of Zerg units flooding across the map at the moment. That's a lot of Roaches, a lot of Lings as well, trying to find a good angle to be able to put on some pressure.
The hallucinated Phoenix of San is going across the map and hasn't spotted any of those units. I'm not sure you realize that the Rock's getting attacked.
On top of the sentries, getting quite a lot of them, but having to expend a lot of force fields there as well. That is really going to hurt San. All of his armies were way out of position to be able to deal with anything. The Roaches are on the back rocks, the Lings are on the third base, and this is catastrophic here for San, who all of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, took massive damage to his army, and is going to get torn apart on these 2 locations.
And he doesn't even have a Robo yet. That means no Immortals to help against this huge amount of Roaches. Behind this, there is Soulkey. He's not going to commit too much to this. He's still getting some drones, getting a few Links here and there to try and reinforce. It's going to be the Roaches on the left-hand side and the Links on the right-hand side to try and do some damage to San.
Bringing down one of these gateways now. It is exposed, trying to force field. Does catch a few of these in the end. Just wants to bring those Roaches back, save some time. There's only 1 sentry there, so you don't, unless he warps in another one, he's going to have to wall in with buildings. Here come the Links as well. That force field dissipates. Links full forwards. Roach is going to help on out, and this is really going to hurt here, as a lot of those units are finally going to end up falling. Soulkey now really in the driving seat of this game.
In the driving seat, I think that's one good way to put it, because he has so many speed Links and Roaches, speedless, in the main of his opponent, doing a ton of damage. He's actually on 114 supply to 73, so it's looking pretty bad for San. It looks like the main's been breached, and I don't think he's going to last too much longer in this game.
Yeah, going to be very difficult, I think, at this point. He is down and out. He tried to that photon overcharge, as you mentioned. A lot of units still left, but other than that, it's going to be difficult for San to keep going.
San, as much as he was getting ready to prepare for defense on the left-hand side with, walling off those rocks, at the same time, the hallucination that he sent across the map went through the right-hand side, so it missed all of those units. If he had seen those, he would have been in position, basically waiting on the right-hand side, behind the buildings, and on the left-hand side, he could have warped in enough units to defend there. But all that he saw, because his hallucination missed those units, was a Zerg player, or he most probably heard it, was a Zerg player basically attacking the rocks on the left-hand side. He heard that, he's like, okay, red alert, I'm going to be attacked on the left-hand side through those rocks. I need to send everything there. He sent his units with the sentries from the third base into the main, Lynx caught that on the way, and it almost feels like Soulkey knew it was going to go down this way. In sending the roaches to the left-hand side, he kind of baited San to come back from the third base into the main, which is brilliant once again.
It's so difficult to establish a third on this base as a Protoss player, unless you're being super, super cautious and very, very slow and methodical about the idea of doing that. So, in the end, very, very hard for him to make sure that that's going on. Soulkey exploited it perfectly. And this is why I went back to the idea of like a two-base play for San on this map. I think that would, especially considering his past and his background, may have given him the best chance, even though Soulkey was probably aware of that could happen anyway. He had the Roach Warren down. It serves multiple purposes, not only in the offense, but also the defense.
Is there anything that San can do? I really don't think so here in this situation. It just looks like his base has been breached. Recovering from that situation is almost impossible, being that much supply behind. And the thing is, even if he held, he will just lose so many probes to be able to hold it. So Soulkey, his ZvP is looking on points so far.
Yeah. Very, very strong. Very
pretty
strong.
Impressive.
And also...
Even scares me. You know, my PVC is good.
Even you? Whoa.
Oh, used to be.
Okay. But, I mean, there are a lot of other good Protoss in this tournament as well. Let's not forget. If he's able to win this game, obviously moving on to the round of 8, you've got people like Rain in there, like Hero in there, even potentially Parting moving through later on in the day if he's able to go through a pretty tough group as well. So
yeah, with Hydra,
Maru.
Oh my God, Maru.
Maru, man.
Are you excited for Maru?
I'm pretty excited for Maru. Although
Maru versus Life possibly coming up has me so excited.
I don't even actually know if Maru is excited for Maru. He just looks very, very calm all the time. So I don't even know if he's excited for himself, but yeah.
He's just very good at concealing it because he doesn't want to give any weakness away.
I like that.
He doesn't want people to know he's human.
It's probably false, but... Oh, and actually, saying false, I know who the last player in there is true. There you go.
Oh, James, the hashtag Team Bad Puns is back with you.
It wasn't even a pun. It actually reminded me of who was in there, so there you go. Oh, well. So, yeah, that makes up for a very good group coming up in Group D. We're just getting back into this game in a little second, as Soulkey and San are looking to recover this game in a sec. But in the end, long story short, San is in a lot of trouble.
Yes.
Almost dead. This close to being dead.
I didn't see how many units he had left, but I think it was almost nothing. And it was so close. You know, like when he lost that gateway in his wall, if he had been able to replace that with a force field, so basically just gotten a single other sentry and force fields that, he can possibly keep on force fielding it and then hold very comfortably. And it changes the game because then suddenly Soulkey's massive army is just going into a mid grinder of force fields and Protoss units, and he's losing everything. He has invested a lot into this. I don't think I would go as far as saying he's behind, but then his investment just wouldn't be worth it. He would have quite an economy behind this. He's still on 3 bases, but if he's not able to breach San here, San is still in this game definitely. But now, having already been breached and having this many Zerglings and Roaches in his main, San just... It's going to be nearly impossible for him to hold this attack.
Yeah, I think the majority of the units that San currently has are being swamped by Lings. So
Swamped?
Swamped. What? Swamped. Like, surrounded, lots of them on top of them.
Okay.
Yep, that.
I would have settled for swarmed.
Swarmed. Okay, you can do that as well, I guess. But swamped is a thing. Swamped is a thing.
I believe you.
Yeah. Okay, good.
I'm just glad I learned a new words. Which I'm probably going to forget in 5 minutes anyway.
Yeah,
so.
probably. Just like I forgot all my French. Anyway, so in a second, hopefully we're going to be getting back into Expedition Lost here. It looks like we're going to have around a 10-minute or so recovery in between this. Not much San can do. Not much he can do.
Yeah.
Who are you looking forward to in Group D the most? Out of all the players that we have, is it Maru? Because for me, it's always Parting, because it's Parting.
I don't know. I think Maru is... I'm expecting his play so much, but at the same time, Parting has been dishing out some... he's been taunting Hydra on Twitter a little bit. And what's funny about this match is that not only both of these players think that they're going to win against each other, but they think it's going to be easy. I talked to both of them. Parting is like, man, Hydra is going to be so easy. And Hydra, same thing. He's like, I'm really good against Parting style, which is aggression. So I'm really looking forward to this match.
So am I. So am I. That is going to be very, very good. Apparently we had some...
Somebody wants to read this.
Oh, brilliant.
Wants you to read this. It's French. I will read it first, so French...
No, wait, I should...
French people and or just people in general can hear what it sounds like. bonbons fourrés enrobés de chocolat au lait.
Bonbons Fures enrobes de chocolat. Oh, late. Oh, late. There you go. That's my English to French.
Bonbons
French to English. Bonbons Fures. That was it, right?
That is why you cannot speak another language.
I'm not very good at French, guys. I'm not very good at French. All right, it looks like we're getting back into the game. Let's go. Game number 2. It could be over very, very soon as it's all going very pear-shaped here, San. As you can see, the Ling's really on top of a lot of this army. Actually, the Photon Overcharge not there. GG. What an amazing finish to the end of the game. Game number 2 is done.
And dusted.
And dusted. There you go.
This poor Sen, I can't believe he had to wait for this. He was probably about to tap out too.
He was. He was just going to tap out.
I'm just going to give him a hug when I see him later.
You can give him some bonbons de fures. So,
pretty tough games for this poor Sen, actually. He truly feels like right now he's hit an impasse with his PVZ and Soulkey is just older than life. He's had a pretty easy time, you know. Made it through the open bracket, even tweeted it was very challenging to make it through the open brackets. Kappa, he tweeted that.
Well,
that cheeky guy.
He shouldn't say that, considering how badly he's done. Well, not badly, but he wasn't able to go through the Intel Extreme Masters qualifiers in the past.
But then he made it easily through the open brackets.
All right, well, maybe he's back on form. Great. I'm happy for that. That's good. He lost his first series and went down into the lower bracket. It wasn't exactly easy.
Okay.
Anyway. So in just a little bit, I think we'll be able to hear from Soulkey. But that pretty much wraps up things for Group C. We've had what a lot of people have predicted to be the result. Obviously, Life going through in first place and Soulkey going through in second. And is anyone surprised?
No, I don't think so. It was kind of all about the Protoss yesterday. One Zerg squeezed out of those groups. And today, so far in Group C, it's been all about the Zergs. Are we going to finally have a Terran make it?
Maybe. Maru has a good shot, a very, very good shot. Unfortunately, Polt and 4GG were eliminated. Polt not looking as solid as we normally imagine. And then 4GG having a little bit of a problem because, let's face it, this group was very, very stacked. So that's how the cookie crumbles, and unfortunately both those
4GG is so good TVT, and he doesn't get it too much, actually.
No. Even had it in WCS Challenger, actually, and Marine Lord gave him a really good run for his money. So 4GG not looking as much with a spring in his step at the start of 2015.
He did tweet that he thinks he needs more practice. So.
Okay, fair play. Well, that does it for us here at the caster's desk, and we can now hear from the winner moving on to the round of 8. It's Soulkey.
Thank you very much, James, and Todd there with the English lessons and the French lessons working in different ways, let's say. Joining us at the desk is Soulkey. Congratulations, Soulkey. Well done. Very good game. Hard work at the end because of the delay, obviously, in the change and then winning very quickly. Are you all right there, Sean?
It was really low, so I tried to bring it up and I went further down. Sorry.
You were chatting with Soulkey beforehand because you've played each other before.
Yeah, we played a game of rock, paper, scissors a long time ago.
Was that GSL season?
It was the OGN season
finals?
1 season finals.
Was it the finals of the rock, paper, scissors?
Yeah, when me and Day 9 went to Korea.
Right.
Was that
in the OGN lounge with Chobra.
Right. Was that when rock meta was popular, or?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah,
and I lost.
It's
but
always,
that's no surprising. The Koreans were really good at rock meta.
The rock meta always comes back.
Yeah. Anyway, Soulkey, much more serious stuff. Game 2. So how do you cope with stuff like that when it goes wrong? How do you stay focused?
그 2경기 때 끝에 그 잠깐 저장해야 됐었잖아. 그랬을 때 포커스는 어떻게 계속 유지를 하는지?
그냥 이미 상황은 이겨있다고 생각해서 키면은 바로 그냥 지지 받아내겠구나 생각을 하고 있었어요.
He said it didn't really matter. Like at that moment, he knew he won.
Yeah.
He was as soon as the game came back, I knew that he was just gonna type GG anyway.
Okay.
So.
All right, it was Apollo's fault. Apollo.
얘 잘못이었다고. 얘 잘못이었어.
Sorry about that. There's not really too much to talk about the games because I think they're kind of straightforward. It's very easy. But I asked this to, who was it I asked to yesterday? Rain. How is life away from Pro League, Kesper, and so on? What is it like for him as a pro gamer and again as a human being?
게임들에 대해서는 좀 되게 쉽게 이긴 것 같았으니까 자기가 알고 싶은 거는 지금 이제 한국 팀을 떠나서 왜 해고 나도 한국말이 이렇게 안 돼. My Korean is leading me today. 해외 팀에 왔으니까 삶이 얼마큼 더 좋으냐고.
그냥 이렇게 해외에 올 수 있게 돼서 그런 거 자체가 일단 좋고요. 혼자서 하니까 아무래도 조금 불편하긴 해도 편하긴 해요. 네. 이렇게 해외대에 오는 게 저는 되게 좋아요.
Okay. He had shared with me earlier that he had really wanted to come to these foreign events, and now that he's on a foreign team, he's able to make it here, and it just makes him feel really good, you know, to be here. He has a lot more freedom, and he said there are hard moments because he can't really, I guess, get the practice schedule done as he used to, but other than that, the freedom is great.
Okay, can you ask him if he's talked to Craig yet, and if he has, does he understand Geordie?
To Craig?
I'm on the same as you two.
Craig is one of the managers at TCM.
TCM에 있는 매니저 크레이그 누군지 알아?
크랙이요?
Yeah.
그 채팅으로만.
He's only talked to him through chatting.
Okay, that's good. Ask him when he does finally talk to Craig whether he actually understands anything he says. Because it'd be really
크레이그라는 분이
interesting.
되게 사투리가 심하니까 같이 얘기하게 되면은 알아들 수 있냐고 하면 알고 싶다고.
It's all good. Trust me, he's fine. Good guy. Okay, it's great. So you're enjoying stuff. You're enjoying life outside of Korea, and you're able to go to all these international. Are we going to see you at more internationals this year? Or, you know, other Intel Extreme Masters, DreamHack, whatever comes up?
2015년에 그 드림핵이나 IEM 같은데 더 많이 참가할 예정인지.
네, 웬만하면은 갈 수 있다면은 다 가고 싶어요.
Whatever he can get his hands on, he wants to make sure he is there for 2015.
Great. We love that.
Well, I want to ask him a question. Was you know, earlier he said out of Group C he was going to make first, and that Life was going to come in second. I'm just wondering how he feels about that. 아침에 얘기했을 때 네가 1위로 나가고 라이프가 2위 할 거라고 했잖아. 지금 이렇게 됐는데 느낌이 어때?
생각보다 이승현 선수가 너무 잘하시더라고요. 제가 그래도 좀 많이 이겼어가지고 자신감이 너무 과했던 것 같고 조금 제가 겸손해질 수 있었던 것 같아요.
He said, now that I've played him, I realized Life is really good, and I might have overestimated what I was thinking about him earlier, and he's definitely humbled me a bit more for this tournament, and he's learned his lesson.
Okay.
All right, final question on my side. Coming into Group C, I think it was pretty obvious for all fans and himself that he was going to advance from today's group, but going into the round of 8, this is, I mean, how does he feel? It's obviously, you've got Hero in there, 3 times Intermission Masters champion, you've got Rain in there, you've already got Life in there, and you're going to have a couple of good players from Group D. How confident is he compared to Group C going into the round of 8?
이제 뭐 C조는 나왔다 하는데 8강 들어가면서 보면은 뭐 준호도 있고 벌써 IEM 몇 번 우승한 사람이 있고 석현이 저희 다 되게 잘하는 선수들인데 지금은 자신감이 어떤지?
자신감 충분히 있고요. 테란 선수가 별로 없기 때문에 좀 더 좀 편한 것 같아요. 저는 요새 테란전이 조금 힘들어서 토스전이 조금 더 물이 오른 느낌이라서 좀 할만할 것 같아요.
He says actually going into the round of 8, there's not a lot of Terrans, so he's really relieved about that. But he's fully confident that he'll be able to you know, play his best while he's in the round of 8.
Okay.
뭐
Good stuff.
피하고 싶은 선수는 딱히.
일단 윤종이가 1등이라서 별로 붙고 싶지가 않더라고요. 차라리 윤종이랑 준호도 잘하고 피하고 싶은데 둘 다 피하고 싶긴 하네요. D조에서 성주랑 이삭이가 1등으로 안 왔으면 좋겠어요. 안 올라갔으면 좋겠어요.
He wants to avoid Hero and Rain. He goes, if I could avoid them later on, that would be great for him. And from D, he wishes that Parting wouldn't be number 1.
Okay. What about Maru?
Marudo? Oh, and Maru.
And Maru.
And that other really good Terran player.
Indeed. All right. Thank you very much, Soulkey. Well done on advancing through Group C. We're going to take a very quick break here in Taipei, but when we come back, we'll head into Group D, our final group of the day and of the round of 16. So far, so good if you're a Protoss or a Zerg. But so far, we have no Terrans in the round of 8. Can Maru change things? We'll find out after the break.